All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Some other people might jump in, but we are here. Welcome back to ArcheTAP. I am really excited to start this series over. I think, I don't know, you can't learn these things too often. Like reminding ourselves of these ideas, they're simple. Archetypes are important. Just as a kind of reminder, they're these archetypes are these compressed ideas, and they contain all different kinds of dimension and imagery and feeling. They resonate with on a deep universal level because no matter your conditioning, no matter your genetics or your race, they apply. And because we live in duality, everything is a binary, which just means like there's a high and a low expression of how these things show up, right? There's a shadowier side and there's a kind of more exalted side. And when we study them, we can transform them and like raise our vibration up. So that's the point of the tapping and the meditation, is to get to the bottom of some of these ideas and to see how they really actually show up in our lives, and what we can do to express them at a higher level. So we're talking about the Fool. Here he is in all of his glory. I'm caffeinated, so I'm going to try to make my hand not shake. And let's just get into some of his symbols here. The first one being this 0 at the top. He's typically numbered 0, which zeros are infinite potential, pure possibility. We're letting someone else in. Sure. Sorry, 2 seconds. I'll probably start. Hi, Laurie. I'm trying to mute you. And it's not letting me. I'm not sure why. Someone helped me set this up, and so I don't know how to go in and like, I'm not the host, so I can't mute everybody. I get in the room the exact way that you guys do. I have to like go find my fucking email. You think I'd be better at this by now, but I am not. So Laurie, if you could mute yourself. That happened last class too. There's like all of a sudden the mute, and she's gone, so it doesn't matter. Thank you for saying that, because honestly, I am glad that you it is hard. I spent 45 minutes earlier today trying to figure out how to use Google Calendar and integrate it, and still did not. Yeah, it's hard. Okay. Well, maybe Laurie will come back, and if she doesn't, whatever. So we're at infinite potential here with the 0. And in some decks, he's actually the number 22 instead of 0. So we can look at it like the alpha and the omega. It's the beginning and the end. And it doesn't really matter in that space, because he almost exists in this liminal space before the beginning. Like he hasn't actually stepped onto the path yet, but he's about to, right? So he's standing on the edge of a cliff. He's looking up. Most images, he's looking up, and he's about to step off. So we're talking about leaps of faith into the unknown. And that's always required of us, of any journey that we go on. There's going to be a little bit of faith that is, as much as we want to be able to control and predict the outcomes of things, which we'll get into more when we get into the gene keys. Here, she's back. Let's see. So we're willing to take a risk. He's willing to take a risk. He's jumping off. He's carrying a small satchel on a stick. Hi, Laurie. Having a little bit of Zoom trouble. And if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, because for some reason it won't let me do it. So we're going over the imagery of the Fool here. He's got this small bag on his back on this stick, which represents his baggage. It's all of his experiences from his past wrapped up into one, and he's carrying it into a new phase of life, but obviously the bag is really small, so he doesn't think he needs to take much from his past. You know, he's maybe gleaned as much as he can, and he's got a light load. He's able to move forward with simplicity and just the essentials. In a lot of decks, he's also holding this white rose in his hand, which symbolizes purity, innocence. He's clear, he's open-hearted, he's got literally his heart open in the image, which to me means he's not cynical. He's not a critic of everything that has happened to him in the past, and he's not let that like doom his attitude. He's willing still to trust life. And then there's this small dog down here in the corner. In some decks, actually just one, in one deck that I've ever read, they think that the dog symbolizes death, kind of nipping at his heels or chasing him, which I think is interesting. But majority of decks feel like this is more playful. The dog is just like nipping at him. It's loyalty and protection and some of the kind of main themes that we think of when we think about a dog. Maybe he's trying to warn him, like, yo, you're about to fall off this cliff, you know. And then in the background, we've got a mountain range, which to me is like, we've got spiritual heights that we're trying to reach. We've got lofty goals, and mountains are fucking hard to climb. So it symbolizes a challenge that's worth it, because you get to look back down and you're like proud of yourself, you know, you've come a long ways and it was hard. And we, for whatever reason, live, I don't think it has to be this way, but I think a lot of us were ingrained that struggle is important for the outcome, you know, that like if we didn't toil for it and fight for it, then it's not as worthy. If it was easy, then I don't know. So I think that that's where some of the value of the mountain range comes from too. The sun is shining on his back. The sun is always vitality, right? It's light, clarity. It's illuminating his path forward so he can see where he's going. And then the fool, in whatever form, always has some wacky clothes on. This looks, he's got this funny tunic with a floral design. I love a good floral. Truly, it's just, he's eccentric, right? He's indicates non-conformity. He could give two shits what society thinks, and he's willing to step out and not care. So those are some of the themes that we find here. The Fool is this really intoxicating blend of the crazy genius and the unabashed buffoon. He's a nomadic wanderer, and he's also this innocent initiate into the spiritual life. He's a savant who wants to step off of the beaten path. He's not bound by what society deems as normal, which means that he's unbound by what society thinks is possible, right? Like we all have limiting beliefs about certain ideas and things that make life feel like it might be too big for us sometimes, or our ideas might be too lofty. And so we really pare ourselves down. He doesn't have that problem. He doesn't see life that way. He's a really rare soul who can peer through the veil of illusion and step outside of the matrix, really, which is freedom, right? That's what we want more than anything, I think, is to just feel free. I think I posted a poem earlier today about like being cringy and realizing like my last two like cool points are down to, you know, and it's just like, it is what it is. But with cringiness comes freedom, because you don't care anymore, you know? And I think that there's a lot of beauty in that, far beyond what our society allows. So his very presence with its delightful weirdness stirs up a lot of discomfort for people. He's a disruptor, right? So he's pushing boundaries just by ignoring them. He lives completely in the moment. He allows life to chart his course. He allows life to pick his fate. He lets life pick his next grand adventure, and he's stepping off on it, right? I mean, it's this ideal that we all would love to live up to. But of course, there is a more shadowier side. And this is going to sound like a direct contradiction to what I just said, but there is a line to tread, right, between genius and folly. And if he falls off too far, he could be the bumbling idiot who literally is like blindfolded and steps off the cliff, right? So he might be a clown who fails because he just refuses to grasp or even fit into any societal norms. And I think the archetype of the kind of unreliable drifter too is like, those are abandonment fears, right? Because I'm never going to let myself get close to anybody. So I'm going to abandon you first type of deal. So when in his negative, he can easily become kind of a laughing stock, right? He's the bumbling fool. So he's got these absurd antics that are causing embarrassment. The people around him cringe. So this archetype, whether we see it as the first or the last in the series, carries just a really disruptive energy. It's a force that is either gonna unlock the gates of freedom, or it's just gonna like trap us in chaos, so to speak. So really his challenge is, and perhaps his greatest quest, is to find this equilibrium, to find this balance between boundlessness and his vitality and then his mental power. It's almost always, right? It's like, is our heart open? Are we listening more to our heart or to our mind? Which one, and can we get them to work together, really, is the ideal thing of like, can they be coherent with each other, Can they hear each other? So by balancing these, he can harness his true genius and avoid a descent into sheer madness. So just kind of quickly, the kind of 7 main themes that go along with this card are he's innocent, and it's about beginnings, right? He's as innocent as a newborn. He's pared down his life. He's free from expectations of society. He's risk-taking. He's willing to go on adventures. He's got infinite potential. Anything could happen. And despite appearing naive, he often is quite wise, right? He's got spiritual insight. He's got something to teach us. And he's going to learn a lot on his way, right? Because everything that's going to come after this class and all of the 21 cards that come next are steps on his journey of who he meets along the way and what he has to learn from them. So transformation is happening. This is about renewal. He's embracing change. And then he's a trickster sometimes, getting us to laugh at things and to not maybe take life so seriously. Okie dokie. So the codon ring that is associated with the archetype of the Fool in Gene Keys is called the Ring of Prosperity. It's got 2 keys in it, the number 16 and the number 45. It's associated with the amino acid cysteine. Cysteine is essential for our health, mostly because it helps our body. It's like antioxidant defense. It specifically helps our body produce glutathione, which helps detoxify our liver and other organs. It's the maintenance protein that helps us make up our hair, skin, and nails, and it's crucial for our overall health and well-being. They call it non-essential because our body does make it, but we also get it from other protein and food sources. So let's jump in the river of gene key or gate 16. It's found in the throat chakra. And 16 is about moving from this idea, the shadowy state of indifference, to the mastery of shaking up our worldviews. It's a transformation for sure. So we want to think about cracking open the door to a room that's filled with treasure. And all of that treasure is really just our untapped potential. This, in my opinion, this key is an eye-opener because it makes me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable to read about it and write this. It deals with a collective shadow of, like I said, indifference. But what is indifference? What does that mean? It sort of means like love left the building, right? We're not, and we tend to abandon ourselves first as a general rule. So that's where many of us start, especially when it comes to loving ourselves. But the kicker here is that indifference isn't just about not caring. It's more of a deep-seated laziness. We're so in our comfort zone that in our safe little world where we'd like tick all the boxes of life off and have put a lot of emphasis on productivity, that we're just kind of safe and chilling out there in that place, if that makes sense. So we're just stuck in routine, which you wouldn't think is being lazy, but in some ways it can be, because we're not necessarily focused on the future and we're not paying attention to what our energy is doing. So when we talk about being truly human, it's about stepping over those shadows, because to be human means we do care. We want to look out for each other. We want to look out for the world, especially for the future generations that are coming. So to not care is probably more like a zombie state. You know, you're just like going through the motions of life. And so awakening from this takes guts, right? Like it takes discipline too. Is a lot of us were conditioned to do the grind. So it's not really for the faint of heart. It's important that we look at this. So this isn't just any old gene key. This is a part of the ring of prosperity, like I said earlier. So what that means is it's influencing behavior across gene pools. So in our society, with the emphasis that we put on money, we can afford to be indifferent, right? But it's like at what cost? So when we look at corporate greed or environmental neglect, you name it, it boils down to this shadow, right? Like people are too lazy to take the time, or they're too trying to be in control of their money. They might lose some of their money if they were to pay attention to their practices and try to do things with integrity. That adds to the kind of laziness factor that comes in here and plays a part. So all of that boils down to this kind of pervasive shadow. So when we talk about transforming this, I love this idea. It's about becoming a polymath and a Renaissance person in a modern world, right? So we want to think about mastering all different sorts of types of knowledge, all with this idea of having a really open heart and a really versatile mind. So it's not about chasing fame, it's about serving the whole with integrity, and to understand that every single thread, you, me, everyone in this room, is a thread, and we all, you know, weave together and we create this really beautiful tapestry. And it's all really important. So the end game here is a society that's led by new thinkers, people who use their intellectual, emotional, and spiritual wisdom to guide us, that are outside of the matrix and understand it. I feel like the people that are in power right now are really in it in the matrix, and Which is a bummer. And it seems to maybe getting worse, but that might be the wrong attitude to take right now. I do trust life, so I figure it's gonna fucking work out how it's gonna work out. But it's this fusion, heart, mind, spirit, right? That's what we're going for. So, because we don't want to just exist, we want to really be truly living. So we don't want to be indifferent to life. What that looks like on a more nuanced level, I think, is up to the individual too. Like, that's subjective to everybody. So that was 16. 45 is about exploring this idea of transforming dominance into communion. So dominance into community, where, again, this idea of serving the whole, right? It is a long overdue idea on our planet for the reasons I just touched on in 16. This is deeply ingrained patterns of dominance, right? Doesn't matter what kind of dominance, whether it's male over female, we still live in a very patriarchal society, whether it's teacher over student or the few over the many. It's a game of power that has been playing out for millennia, right? And all of this is really rooted in our insecurities. And I think it's a profound sense of mistrust that accidentally happens to us at a really young age. And then that's hard to get out of. I mean, it just is. There's the old survival animal brain that wants to click in and take the wheel, drive us into competition, let our ego kind of get in there a little bit. And but it's just always the same survival dance. It's always about feeling safe, right? So, but we're not only animals anymore. We've evolved a lot, and it's really time that our behaviors catch up with us. The thing that keeps us locked in these patterns is that we make control a crutch, like it's a lifeline that is gonna save us, and it just doesn't. We have got to learn to fucking relax. So the real kicker here, moving from dominance to communion, isn't just a leap. It's a transformation, and it starts within us. So like always, we're going inward to do this work. And that work begins the moment that we let fear creep in, right? The moment that we notice, oh, that's probably a limiting belief. I don't even know if that's actually true, if it's just a story I tell myself, you know? Anytime there's like whisperings in the back of our mind, these tales of lack, right? There's only so much in this world. There's so many things to distrust. They're just lies, and it goes back to the safety mechanism of your nervous system wanting to keep you safe. So when we get into the meditation, we're going to work on a creative way to override that. So suffering, as grim as it sounds, is where this journey kicks off. But the suffering isn't there to torment us. It's meant to like get our attention and to shake us awake, so that when we face this sense of uncertainty, this sense of lack of safety, we can pay attention to it. And then something amazing happens. As soon as we direct our focus on it, it starts to dissolve. As soon as we take a deep breath and realize like, oh, I'm just fucking scared. Like, that's what this is, you know? It just starts to dissolve. It's always a mask of fear, almost always. And in this grand narrative, we think about ownership, right? We want to control things. We want to own things, whether it's land, whether it's power. It doesn't really matter. But it is the major theme, and we really cling to it, thinking that this land is mine forever or whatever. But nothing is. And I think and I know that older generations, you know, people that are in the last quarter of their lives where they're doing a lot of reflecting, they often realize this at some point, you know, that part was futile. Like, I had this grip, I tried to control everything. And then, so hopefully we can start to recognize this just a little bit sooner than the last years of our lives, and we can put it into play now. So we want to transcend these old tired patterns and step into a flow. where everything connects, everything is connected to everything and enhances everything, and everything is expanding, because that's the truth, right? That feels good when you say it, when you think it. And that's what changes our DNA. When we're talking about the gene in gene keys, we're talking about talking directly to our DNA and changing how it expresses itself so that we can show up. So, got myself sitting crooked again. Dang it. Anytime I'm like, check in with your posture, I'm talking to me. And I just assume everyone else does it too. So, okay, we're gonna jump into, if any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll do a little tapping and then we'll jump into the meditation. So the tapping, in my opinion, just starts to integrate these ideas a little bit more into our system, but it also helps relax you. So it's a great tool to get you into meditation and get in a little bit deeper. So tapping on this side of the hand. If you're new to tapping, you're just going to repeat after me, and then you're going to mimic the points as I go through them. For the most part, I use two hands, but you can just use one. When I get to the armpit one, I just use one, but anyway, do you. Use your dominant hand, use your non-dominant hand, doesn't matter. I am scared to jump off the normal path. I feel really bound up sometimes. Bound up in what I think is possible and isn't possible for me. If I'm honest, there's still a lot of illusion. I find it hard to see through. But I am ready to be free. Free from societal conditioning. I'm ready to live in the moment. And allow life to chart my course. So even though I've been holding myself back from new beginnings, feeling cautious about stepping into the unknown, I deeply and completely accept myself. Excuse me. And I choose now to embrace the journey of the Fool with openness and courage. Okay. Top of the head, we've got a little information loaded there in our circuitry. I acknowledge my hesitations, but I'm ready for a new beginning. I'm ready to feel free, to explore whatever. The Fool is representing to me all of my infinite possibilities. So I am staying open to all the paths that I could take. I'm ready to experience life with curiosity. I'm ready to let go of the past. I'm at the beginning of a transformative journey. And I choose to step forward without fear. I've got heart and I've got courage. I welcome the risks. And I know I'm going to make some miraculous discoveries. Because I possess the fool's wisdom and insight. I'm transforming. I'm growing and evolving. And the fool's journey is my journey. And I choose to let it be full of joy. And so it is. Okay, so should be feeling a little bit more relaxed. So for this part, you are more than welcome to stay seated where you are. If you do, just check in with your posture again. If you've started to slouch, if you want to stay upright, like it's good that your spine have flow. And flow is hard to do like this. If you want to lay down, lay down. And as it feels safe to do so, let your eyes close. We'll do a little breathing together before we jump into the visuals. So first, just check in with your breath and notice what it's like without changing it. Is it smooth? Is it ragged? Is it deep or shallow? Just noticing, no judgment. At the bottom of your next exhale, pause. And then inhale through your nose for 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath at the top. Exhale for 3, 2, 1. Hold your exhale. Inhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. Exhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Then press any last remaining bits of air out of the bottom of your lungs. Then big, deep belly breath in through the nose. And then open your mouth and let it go. One more like that. Big, deep belly breath in through the nose. Audible exhale. Seal your lips back off. Find a smooth, deep breath. With every inhale and exhale that you take, you feel more relaxed. Any tension leaves your body. In your mind's eye, visualize yourself standing at the beginning of a narrow path. The ground is firm beneath your feet. Ahead of you stretches a really beautiful, rugged cliffside path. You carry a small bag, symbolizing your worldly possessions. It's light and compact, carrying only what is essential. You can feel the sun on your back. It's warm, relaxing. And in the distance, you can see mountains piercing into this really clear blue sky. So before we start walking down the path, just turn around now in all directions, just taking all of it in. Trying to notice as much detail as you can. As you begin walking along the cliff's edge, each step forward feels like a step into a new realm of possibilities. Every step is a space for a beginning. With each step, imagine shedding any doubts that have held you back. Every step, you feel safer, more supported, more expansive. Your body feels light. Even though you're near the edge, you feel safe. As you walk along, you're going to come to your safe space. This is a space just for you. It's a space you feel good in. As you arrive, take a look around, just noticing. Maybe you're still outside somewhere, but maybe you're inside somewhere. You're going to take a seat inside your safe space. So maybe a comfortable chair appears, maybe a cushion, and you plop down on the floor. But you feel secure. Imagine that a screen appears in front of you and a slideshow slowly begins. Each image that you're presented with is a vibrant, glowing idea of your deepest desires. As you look at these slides, you understand that they're projections of the energy patterns that exist inside of you. That these deep desires are the very fabric of your creation. And that you are more powerful than you realize. The vibrational vortex that is you pulls matter into existence. You are a creator. A new slide shines brightly, showing you the pattern of relationships. Visualize this pattern forming connections. Let the slide show you the converging paths that are going to bring the right people into your life. Feel the harmony and the love that comes from this pattern. Let any past conflict go so that you can enrich your present moment. The next slide that comes into view is your physical wholeness. See your body healed and revitalized. You're in a state of perfect health. Well-being is your birthright. So let yourself feel like you can absorb the strength and the nourishment that this pattern offers. You can feel every cell in your body vibrating exactly perfectly. As the next slide comes in, you see the pattern of abundance. You see all these power circuits that radiate financial prosperity. Visualize the channels through which abundance flows to you. Visualize the plans that lay out a path so that you are always financially supported. Understand deeply that whenever fear or doubt creeps in, you have the power to change the slide, to go back to these perfect divine patterns. So as you're letting yourself think about these patterns, go ahead and ask the archetype of the Fool to join you. What you see in your mind's eye may look exactly like the image on the card, but it may look totally different also. Just trust whatever comes to you. Maybe another chair appears and they sit across from you. You get to ask the archetype some questions. Understand too that you may hear words, you may see images on the screen, or it might be a more internal, nonverbal knowing. The first question: what is my relationship with optimism like? What is my relationship with optimism like? What helps me cultivate optimism? How true is this statement? I trust in life. How true is this statement for me? I trust in life. What is my relationship to risk taking? What is my relationship to risk taking? What's a mini risk I can take? What's something I've been wanting to try? Last question. What more can I do to assist in creating the perfection like I saw on those slides? What more can I do to assist in creating the perfection like I saw on those slides? I'm going to leave you in the meditation. Stay for as long as you like. Ask as many questions as you want to. When you're done and ready to go, be sure to thank the Fool, the archetype, and imagine yourself walking back out of the path to come out of the meditation. And I will see you all on the full moon for the Magician.